Hello students and friends. Today I am going to tell about homeopathic materia medica. Before start, please subscribe to this channel. Today we will discuss about Lachesis. Lachesis is the typical representative of syphilitic miasma. She is a rare combination of syphilitic qualities like overprotective domination, intentional malice, hypocrisy, jealousy, envy, and cruelty. This combination is, in fact, her very essence. Her strongest basic passion is her attachment to her close ones, an attachment with main quality the tendency for domination. Her second, in intensity, basic passion, is vanity. Syphilitic miasma predominates and is very strong, while psychotic miasma comes second. Her intellectual content is very syphilitic, while her expression is firstly syphilitic and secondarily psychotic. All the above characteristics make her a very difficult subject both for her and especially for her close ones, either relatives, friends, or colleagues. 1. Attachment to her close ones with sole aim domination. As already mentioned, she has this strong tendency for attachment to her close ones, especially to her family, with sole aim to dominate, to do things her own way, to run the whole family. In the past we had the padre padrone, nowadays we have the madre madrona. If such an expression exists, she wants to be the exclusive head of the family. She is not attached only to her close ones but also to little everyday things, in the sense that she wants to have control and decision about every little matter. Pulsatilla also has an attachment to her close ones and to little everyday matters and things. But her attachment aims not to domination, it's an emotional, a sentimental attachment, because she is Boericke as concern her ideas and her intention. Pulsatilla has a sincere and more purposeless sentimental attachment. She doesn't do it for domination, she is really and truly sensitive, she is not faking, she loves her husband and children and is fond of emotional exchanging among them, she is romantic and sensitive, while Lachesis can be a dictator or a cruel person whenever she is not faking to be extremely sensitive. Her domination can usually be found in 3 types. The first one concerns her primal behavior, while the 2 others have to do with her most frequent secondary behaviors. Her primal intention and primal behavior is that of the unconcealed domination. The other 2 secondary behaviors are, first, the hypocritical, oversensitive and extremely kind woman and mother that adores her husband and children, and second, the domination of the modern, ambitious, and successful working woman and mother. 2. The primal behavior of unconcealed domination. This primal behavior of unconcealed domination is not frequent nowadays, because it causes a lot of reaction from the environment. It's easier to dominate in a concealed way than in a straight one. So, being also a flexible person and a capable one, Lachesis tends to dominate in a concealed way, with a secondary behavior. Furthermore, it is predominantly a female idiosyncrasy, and by nature, it has the ability to perform indirect actions, and that has nothing to do with anti-feminism, it has to do with natural differences of sexes. At her primal, undisguised behavior, Lachesis tends to be domineering, despotic, malice, and even cruel. Her tongue is full of poison, she is talkative, quick, grumbling, muttering, accusing, jealous, envying, and full of malice. As I've said before, you don't often see that as a permanent behavior because it is an extreme behavior. But you can see it often happen when a seemingly sensitive good lady is unmasked, when her lies and true intentions are revealed and she can't deny it, when she is losing control over the persons of her environment. That is, when a suppressed relative tries to gain his freedom, when somebody refuses to do things her way. Then, she may unmask herself and present her real self, raging, yelling, cursing, saying malice things. 3. The secondary behavior of the good and sensitive woman/mother. Now, we come to the secondary behavior of the good and sensitive woman/mother, in which she disguises herself as if being a Boericke pulsatile subject. She pretends to be the sensitive, kind mother that sacrifices all her life and energy for the sake of her beloved children and husband. She appears to satisfy every whim and need of them. She appears to care for every little thing that concerns their life. Johnny, my baby, don't forget to put on your jacket so as not to catch a cold, eat your food and drink your milk, you don't eat well lately, you've lost weight, you are going to get sick. All the time she follows her children wherever they go, either by foot or by mind, she keeps thinking of them all the time. Why are they late? Did anything happen to them? She often admits and is proud of that she cares extremely about them, that she has a pathological love for her children. This seeming picture of pathological love and innocent overprotection is but the camouflage of her tendency for domination. Her real intention is to control everything, and I mean everything concerning their lives, from birth to death, their death or her death. For a Lachesis mother, children are always children, that is, they don't know or she knows better, she loves them more than they do, so she must decide for everything. Everything means from important decisions up to non-important little everyday things, what to eat, what to wear, what friends to hang out with, where to go, what to do, what to study, what profession suits them better, whom to marry, how to raise their children, etc. A Medornum son may say, my mother is such a pain in the ass. She is very oppressive, tyrannical and domineering, no wonder why there's that beautiful expression, smother love, meaning any oppressive love. She interferes in any matter because she knows best what's good for her children. Be careful. This pathological love is a syphilitic emotion, a lower intellectual emotion. This has nothing to do with spiritual love or even conscience love. It also has nothing to do with mere intellectual love, as in the case of a Boericke pulsatile, it is but a camouflage domination, a deliberate attachment. Somebody could say, aren't you exaggerating? How can you be so sure of her deepest intentions? There are two important criteria that reveal a syphilitic intention: exaggeration in behavior and expediency. She is all the time exaggerating about her sacrifices that she does for her children, about how much she adores her children. Whenever she wants them to follow her way of doing things in their life, she always tries to put forward a psychological blackmail. She applies to their emotional bond, she applies to her sacrifices for them, she applies to her good intentions. Proven through the years. There's a relevant phrase, my child, you are free to do anything you please, but if you do so you are stubbing my heart with a knife. Laughing, there's also another relevant phrase that is not told, of course, by a Lachesis, but it reveals her true intentions: you are free to do whatever I want. More laughing. Similar blackmailing expressions are, why on earth do you insist on upsetting me / sadden me / worry me / grieve me / trouble me / distress me? Do you want to drive me sick? You'll drive me crazy, you'll drive me to death. Oh God, what have I done to deserve such a behavior from my son, from my blood and flesh? Why do you torture me so much? What have I done to you? Why don't you listen to your mother? Don't you Love me. I am your mother and I love you, please, listen to me, I know what's best for you, go, and do whatever your stubborn head wants, but know one thing, I am the one who is going to suffer. People are bad. They don't love you as your mother does, they will only hurt you, I am the only one you can trust. Other similar expressions are, may God bless you my child, may help you see the truth, that what your mother says is right and for your own good. Okay, you don't give a dime about your mother. But don't you care about your sick father or about your brothers and sisters? You are killing them. Don't you care about your good name to society? Don't you care if you humiliate your family? In all these phrases, the script is more or less the same. We, that is me, your mother, offer you a great deal, but you are ungrateful. We love you and you don't love us, we care about you and you don't care about us, you don't know what you want, we know best, so you must feel bad for your ungratefulness and for the fact that you will harm us. Another usual script is scaremongering, be careful. You will have this or that bad thing, you are in danger. If you keep saying to someone that something bad will happen to him, then one day, something will happen. And then Lachesis will say to him, see, I told you so. From now on, you will listen to me. It's a very good trap. It's a ROI mat movement in a chess game. Laughing, I was right, so now shut the fuck up and listen to me and do only what I tell you. 4. Usual options for the children of a Lachesis mother, the emasculated, the rebellion and the dominant. If you have such a dominant, oppressive mother, you have mainly 3 options according to your miasmatic and idiosyncratic background. If you are a Boericke person with weak background and due to oppression and guilt you become emasculated, castrated. You become coward, dependent and submissive, yielding, you develop lack of self-confidence. You have lack of will and almost no personality of your own, you are full of guilt and taboo. That's the outcome of smother love, you become a mother's boy, not so much in the sense of a spoiled child but in the sense of the castrated, dependent, coward boy. If you are a girl, things are not so bad. If you are a boy, then you've certainly won the lottery. You never grow to be a man, an independent, masculine human being. No wonder why many such boys become effeminate or even homosexuals of the passive type. But when a Lachesis mother gives birth to a psychotic or Medorianum boy, then both of them have won the lottery. Nobody yields, she faces a child that is wild and independent by nature, one that rarely falls to the traps of guilt and emotional blackmail. He wants to enjoy life his own way and will fight to the end for his freedom, no matter what. As soon as he grows older, the war begins and nobody steps back, a civil war, a family war. The mother cries out, this kid will drive me to the grave, and presses her husband, her other kids and all other relatives, even the teacher and the priest, in an alliance under her leadership against this wild psychotic child. The rebellion child, on the other side, shouts and yells, get off my back, all of you. It's not going to be your way. You are a crazy old woman and I am not going to be your slave. Do whatever you want. I'd rather die than yield. But as I've said before, they both have hit the jackpot. The mother suffers from not being able to dominate and the child suffers because he may not yield to oppression, but due to reaction he becomes unbalanced. His psychotic characteristics become exaggerated and he goes to the extremes. His mother, instead of balancing his psychotic characteristics, helps towards their exaggeration. Thus, out of reaction, the boy will surrender to unlimited enjoyment of life, he will yield to all kinds of excesses, drinking, smoking, bad companies, spending the night in fun. He will also abandon studying and create all kinds of misbehavior at school. That is, he will do just the opposite of what his mother tells him with her never-ending grumbling. Such youngsters have so much anger in them that they lose control and may end up in drugs or in illegal actions. They may become members of a gang or even create their own gang to which they are the leaders. That's the usual reaction of a psychotic child. You see how important are miasmas to understand everyday life? And of course, how critical is such knowledge in homeopathic prescribing? How will a syphilitic child react? In a syphilitic way, of course. Just like his syphilitic mother. As soon as he or she starts understanding what's going on with his/hers mother, he/she will also start manipulating her. Most of the times we have to do with a Lachesis daughter that pays back her mother. At times she will torture her with her indirect behavior, and at times she will attack in a straight way. For example, she knows the weak points of her mother, she cares about her hypocritical image to the neighborhood and society, so if she wants to irritate her, to pay back, then she will tell her mother at the presence of her friends, that is, other gossiping female neighbors, "Mom, I'm hungry, are you going to let us without any cooked food like yesterday?" She does this deliberately. Her mother will either change subject or yell at her, "What are these stupid things you are saying? Silly girl. Go play with your dolls." She will turn to her company and say, "What a girl, she so much likes lying or saying jokes." Then, when all neighbors have left the house, she will go raging to her daughter. Her daughter may answer in two ways. You see, syphilitic subjects have the ability to be very flexible. She may pretend that she doesn't understand what she did, or she may cut the chase and say, "Look here, Mom, whenever you hurt me, I will hurt you too. Don't you ever think that I don't know what you are doing? Don't forget that I am your daughter." It is a usual thing for the daughter Lachesis to revenge her Lachesis mother, when the last one becomes old and dependent on her. Then she may even become cruel, cynic and even violent. 5.5 The predominant, oppressive wife. The same hypocritical and predominant secondary behavior stands also bold for her husband. If her husband is a submissive person, then she totally manipulates him and tends to present a perfect image about him, their relation and their family. He is made of gold, he spoils her, he satisfies every whim of hers, she is his queen, he is a family man. He adores her, he hasn't got eyes for any other woman, he is the perfect husband and father. They talk about everything and have no secrets among them, they decide together about everything. Of course, when she says that they decide together, she means that she is the one to give orders. You see again, the syphilitic quality of exaggerating, manipulating and hypocrisy. In reality, she orders and he and the kids do as ordered. Many times she uses her husband as an obedient ally, or more precisely, as an officer of the law against any rebel kid. If her husband is not a yielding cyric subject but instead he is an indifferent psychotic one, then fighting starts early, from the beginning of their relation, and gradually it becomes a loveless marriage. The husband just brings money in the house and all day he is at his job, then at the pub, at football games and at his mistress. The Lachesis wife takes control of all family matters. To the local society, he is presented by his wife as indifferent, full of nerves, looser, womanizer, useless and good for nothing. On the other hand, she is so worthy of praise, despite her disastrous marriage and her good-for-nothing husband, she is loyal to her husband and family for the sake of the kids, for which she sacrifices her personal life. She is a master in passing to her children this hypocritical and exaggerated picture. As soon as they start realizing things, she uses them as allies with no will and judgment of their own, against her husband, so as to enslave him or at least revenge him. I wouldn't be surprised if what I described seems exaggerated or simply extreme cases, but for me these are everyday usual stories that I experience in my office. I believe that anyone who has freed himself from the idealized picture of a beautiful or even normal human society agrees with me, because he has often experienced such insane human stories either personally or to his relatives or close ones. Nowadays, it is a very common thing for any adult to suffer from a serious illness or to have such a serious illness like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, depression, or psychosis around him. Accordingly, so often we, or some close ones, suffer from affair or family problems that normal is indeed a rare thing to find. Half the people are divorced, and most of those who are still together face severe malfunction in their relations with their parents, children, relatives, and companions. Normal is a rare thing, and happiness has become a faraway dream for most people. You see, common senses is not so common nowadays. 6. The successful modern businesswoman. We have already said that a Lachesis may adopt a secondary behavior of a good and sensitive woman, imitating Boericke pulsatile. That was a common thing in past times when we had to do with a man's world, because she could not be directly dominant and have control over others. Nowadays, we tend to a woman's world, so it is easier for a domineering Lachesis to act differently and more straight. She is no longer the housewife mother sexual object of the predominant male. In fact, in our Western societies, she is no longer a housewife. Often, she even feels ashamed if you call her a housewife. She wants to have a great career and is very ambitious to do the same mistakes that men did in the past and still do. She wants to gain money, position, success and fame. She wants to smoke, to drink, to use men as conquests or as sex objects, and to be workaholic. Often, when adult, she doesn't want to be a mother, as this is an obstacle to her career, and when she becomes a successful businesswoman, then she may give birth to 1 or 2 children and pass them over to the cheap foreign maid, to grandparents, or even to her husband. That's the successful modern businesswoman picture of Lachesis, Platina or Valerian nowadays. They are ashamed to be housewives, and most of the times they don't know how to be. They don't want to be mothers when the time is right, and if they do, they want to have a cesarean operation so as not to feel any pain and avoid breastfeeding so as not to spoil their tight, good-looking breasts. A modern successful businesswoman Lachesis in the same way she wants to have full control at her family, in the same way she wants to have total control at work, especially if she is the boss. Even little things must be checked by her, nothing goes out if not seen or signed by her personally. In the same way she knows best at family, in the same way she knows best at work. Often, a successful businesswoman Lachesis adopts primary behaviors of Platina. She takes care a lot her appearance. She thinks she is very pretty and fatal and sexy. She is extremely ambitious and thinks she is extremely smart. 7. The vanity of the cunning fox. Apart from her domineering attachment to her close ones, another basic passion of Lachesis is her vanity. As already mentioned above, if she is a modern successful businesswoman, then her vanity resembles the vanity of Platina. But if she is a low-class housewife or a low-class worker, then Her vanity usually takes the form of the cunning fox. Not only nobody can fool her, but instead, she is confident that she can manipulate anyone around her. She is so good in faking, in hypocrisy, in flexibility, in exaggeration. She knows out of experience from her family and job that, indeed, she has this ability. Furthermore, she knows best since she is such a cunning fox. She's got her own opinion about everything, which of course is the correct one. She has managed so many things in her life, so life taught her a great many about everything. What if she hasn't gone to any university due to her parents' financial condition? She has graduated with excellence from the University of Life, because, undoubtedly, she is a cunning fox. She's got brains. 8. Intentional malice and envy. Another syphilitic quality of hers is intentional malice. Valerian will become malice out of revenge, only if she is hurt. Platina will become malice if underestimated or not recognized as the first, if another one becomes queen at her throne. Pulsatilla will not be malice even when deeply and deliberately hurt. Lachesis may become intentionally malicious out of jealousy or envy, or when she fails to domineer, when she fails to do things her way. She just can't stand seeing other couples being happy, rich or famous. She will also be extremely malicious if someone unmasks her hypocritical behavior and exposes her wicked intentions. When a low-class woman, she will often be the typical gossiping woman of the neighborhood. She wants to know everything about everyone. She pretends to be friends with one woman so as to know all her personals. Then if she envies her, she goes to her closest friend and puts bad words on her mouth so as to have them quarrel. You see, she may become so spiteful and full of jealousy and envy. She is so capable of organizing intrigues. Rasputin, as described in history, must have been a Lachesis priest. The malice which that gave the poisoned apple to Snow White was definitely a Lachesis woman. She likes having others fighting and may push to that direction through lies, intrigues, gossiping, and wicked plans. Even when her intrigues are revealed, she is so capable of denying it. She shouts, she rages, she passes out hypocritically, she threatens, she curses. She may even swear to God or to her own children that she is innocent. She has the nerve to do anything required to defend herself and her malicious and domineering plans. 9. Syphilitic, intentional hypocrisy and jealousy. We have already mentioned her hypocritical abilities when we've referred to her secondary behavior, the good and sensitive woman/mother. Another secondary behavior is the religious, pious, God-fearing, moral woman. She pretends to be moral, honest, sincere, living according to the will of God. She says she loves all people, the whole world. She is full of love although many people have hurt her. She visits church regularly and attends all religious rituals and ceremonies. She is showing off and is proud of her religious faith. Pharisees were definitely Lachesis subjects. Not only she shows off, but she is also commenting and judging unfaithful people, dishonest women or bad behaving children. There are dozens of hypocritical phrases that she so often uses, as God is my witness, for God's sake, oh my God, may God help us. Praise the Lord, God sees everything and will judge you, God is great, may God/Mother Mary be with you, God is my shepherd. God forbid, God willing, good God, the Lord will provide. There's a God above. In the same line of hypocrisy you will encounter the loud sighing of this troubled from life and sensitive woman. She will also take any chance to say how proud she is about her neat and clean house, her cooking abilities and her devotion to her family contrary to her good-for-nothing neighbor. If she is a teacher, she will focus on her typical duties, preaching all the time about morals and principles instead of setting an example of love, understanding, and forgiveness. She will be strict and sometimes cruel, and the excuse is always that she does all these for their own good. If she is a mother superior in an abbey, she will be so strict and oppressive, always in the name of the love of Jesus and for the sole purpose of their psychological evolution. She will always find the chance for preaching and talking endlessly about love and morality. In all cases, she will use many powerful weapons like her hypocritical tears, her talkativeness, her persistency, her grumbling, her ability for intrigues, her preaching, and her religious or moral hypocrisy. She will sigh entering the examination room with her husband or children, aiming for the doctor's compassion. She will even burst to tears, so as to force the doctor to help her at her show, the show of the good. Sensitive and troubled woman, the aim is not always so profound. She wants her children or husband to do things her way so as not to trouble her anymore. If she wants to control her rebellion children or free spirit husband so as to stay home, she will usually pretend that she is so worried about them and afraid that something bad may happen to them while outside. If they don't listen to her, she will beg for phone calls at regular periods so as to be calm that nothing happens to them. If you are hypocrite and malicious, it is expected to think that others are like that too, so you will be mistrustful and jealous. Lachesis is not only jealous of her husband that he may be cheating on her, she is also jealous and even envy of the wealth of others and even of their happiness. Sometimes she may set up an intrigue so as to spoil their happiness. When jealous of her husband, she has no problem to start secretly listening to his phone calls. He may check his jacket or pants for proofs of cheating, seek for odors of women perfumes or women hair on his clothes. She may even follow him secretly to see where he is going and with whom he is. Most women that pay a detective to stalk on their husband are indeed Lachesis women, or sometimes Valerian. If he finds him cheating, then God mercy his soul. She may play the game of cat and mouse with him. She will start asking indirectly about the whole thing. She won't cut to the chase. She will be going round and round around. So, where did you say that you've been? Who else was there? So, you've spent so many hours there. It must have been a lot of fun, so you had a very good time. I am glad for you. She keeps pushing and pushing until he forces him to confess his crime. Then she reveals her real self. She is raging, yelling, crying, cursing, hysterical and even violent. She will yell so as their children, her relatives, and all neighbors listen to her, she to ridicule him. But, being flexible, she may react in a different, more controlled way. She may not say anything to her children or relatives or others so as to blackmail him. If you don't do this and that, if from now on all things are not done my way, then I will tell them what an unfaithful husband you are. The syphilitic element is the use of any weak point of the other for her dominance. Lachesis and especially Valerian are those wives that tend after divorce to destroy their husband and take from him as much as possible. They want to revenge, even if this means their ruining of their family or children's lives. 10. Uncontrolled and biting loquacity. Her loquacity is characteristically syphilitic, psychotic, uncontrolled, hasty, and endless, jumps from one subject to another, even an irrelevant one. In between, she throws out a hint or a malice comment about her interlocutor or about a common acquaintance of them. Her usual tactic is to blow hot and cold or half in jest, half in earnest, while talking on. An irrelevant subject, she will throw a malice hint and then immediately change subject so as not to give the other person the chance to reply. Or she may consciously lie about some common acquaintance. She may say that he accuses her interlocutor only to set up an intrigue or make him feel bad, and then immediately say, "Of course, I didn't believe anything from what he said about you." The profound aim of these tactics is to make her interlocutor adopt the apology attitude, to make him submit, to place him in a difficult or even inferior position, and she is so good at it. So, her loquacity is uncontrolled, biting, and syphilitic, grumbling, and especially nagging. And curtain lecture, as expressed in literature, is most of the times a lachesis loquacity. Pulsatile may also be loquacious, but it is a psychotic as concerns the expression, and syric as concerns content. Loquacity, it is charming, harmless, amusing, and with good intentions. Lachesis is easily angry, easily offended, and usually expresses her anger. At least whenever she has the chance to do so, she doesn't forget easily. And whenever she has the chance will pay back. She's got such a nerve. She likes exposing in public her enemies or those she is jealous of. She is so good at it. She is so able to make a fool of someone or humiliate him in public. She is usually a hot organism, but not so like sulfur. She is so troubled in a hot room, wants to open the windows for fresh, cool air, but she may be annoyed by cold weather. During menopause she is trouble for years by flashes and hot sweat, even preventing her from work or sleep. Most lachesis subjects have a troubling menopause. Sometimes she feels palpitation at the cardiac area and may avoid to lie down on her left side, so as not to press the heart, but without the characteristic fear of heart illnesses, as in the case of the syric psychotic phosphor. She has such an aversion for anything tight, anything that squeezes her. She is so troubled by tight clothing, especially in the area of the neck, breasts, and belly. She certainly avoids polo neck sweaters or even neck jewels. On entering the house she often takes off her bra, even if it's not a tight one. She slips into wide, comfortable clothing. 11. Idiosyncratic diagram of lachesis. Raw material. The poison from the snake Lachesis trigonocephalus. It is diluted hundreds and thousands of times so as to become a harmless homeopathic medicine. Miasmas. She is the typical representative of syphilitic miasma. Deep syphilitic. Characteristics like overprotective, domineering, intentional malice, hypocrisy, jealousy, envy, and cruelty. Her intellectual content is intensely syphilitic, and her expression is intensely syphilitic and psychotic. Basic passions. Her main basic passion is her domineering attachment to her close ones, and to the control of every little everyday matters. A secondary basic passion is her cunning fox vanity. Essence, main idea. Syphilitic, malicious, domineering, and jealous woman, expressed either as primarily dominant or more frequently with the secondary hypocritical behavior of the good and sensitive woman/mother. Thinking. A evolutionary level. Due to the intense syphilitic miasma, her relation with conscience, psyche, and internal will are almost absent. Intense relation with intellectual psyche and external will. The above qualities make it very difficult for any subject influenced by lachesis to evolve psychologically and detach from earthly attachments. Intense violation of universal laws, not only as concerns behavior but also as concerns thinking and intentions. B. Influences. Intense influence from the syphilitic miasma as concerns intellectual content and expression. Most frequent thinking stimuli are the external and symbolic ones, rare conscience thinking stimuli, intense negative energy tuning. Stressful conditions. Tight clothing, the possibility of independence from persons that are under her control, children, husband, colleagues, her children's rebellion, puberty, her husband's cheating, her children's love affairs, her children's bad companies, a domineering person like her among her close ones, fighting for who is going to be the boss, when she is trying to dominate to someone close who is psychotic, indifferent, and she can't manipulate him, when publicly exposed as to her syphilitic intentions. And hypocrisy, when others around her are more happy or rich or better. When others are more cunning than her and fool her in any way, women more beautiful than her, women that enjoy sex while she doesn't, when her manipulating plans and intrigues fail. See general characteristics of intellectual functions. Fast, intentional and perverted thinking with intensely syphilitic content. D. Intellectual patterns. She believes that people can be divided into two groups, stupid and smart, slaves and bosses. Of course she is smart, cunning, and able to control and manipulate others, so she must be the boss in family, work and generally in all fields. Platina also believes that she is the first among others, but she is the queen that others should recognize and yield to her glory and beauty, while Lachesis is the oppressive prime minister or the Rasputin that wants to control every little thing of his subjects. Lachesis is full of malice and envy, she has no moral restraints, she is so flexible in her behavior and can be very hypocritical, while Platina is rigid and stable as concerns her beliefs and attitude. Lachesis is so good in adopting hypocritical secondary behaviors that are well accepted by the society, i.e. the good and sensitive woman, the faithful religious woman, the good mother, etc. Frequency. The most common idiosyncrasy nowadays among men and women, the prevailing among women, especially after the age of 45, the one with the secondary behavior of the good and sensitive woman/mother is more frequent among older women, past generation, and in low classes. The one with the picture of the modern, successful woman is more frequent in modern women and high classes. It is predominantly a female idiosyncrasy. Emotions. She is always steaming, always in action, very energetic, thinking and emotion are always active, and so is her general mood, intense negative. Intellectual emotional charges. Intellectual emotions prevail while conscious emotions are rare. Her main intellectual emotions are hate, intellectual love, anger, sorrow, and vanity. Her emotions are deep, extreme, changing, negative, intentional, hypocritical, excessive, and at times hysteric. Behavior. Since her primal behavior is very negative, malicious, and domineering, she tends to adopt secondary behaviors that are well accepted by the society. She is the typical representative of hypocritical and intentional secondary behaviors. She adopts such behaviors while she knows that it's against her intentions and beliefs. That's why her behavior is characterized as hypocritical, and that is a pure syphilitic quality. For example, a Lycopodium adopts the secondary behavior of the cultured, spiritual, and kind man because he is so coward when it comes to conflicts, but he believes in the principles and attitude adopted. Lachesis, on the contrary, knows that she is not the religious, sensitive mother, but if this suits her in controlling her husband and family, she has no problem in acting so. I must clarify, at this point, that when I say she knows, that doesn't mean that she has full awareness and consciousness in the sense of higher knowledge, that is, at the level of conscience psyche. She simply functions at the intellectual level and adopts an intentional mask. That's the reason why when exposed, then she easily throws away this mask and may adopt another mask, or may behave primarily with malice and cruelty. the 1 minute she is the good and sensitive person, and when unmasked she is that bad, raging bitch. Her primal behavior is characterized by malice, domineering attitude, jealousy, envy, immorality, negativity, cruelty, perversion, and vanity. When adopting secondary behaviors, these qualities are hidden, and what prevails is saying lies, hypocrisy, excesses in expression, and above all, intentional behavior. Usual roles: the good housewife, the oversensitive woman, the mother that adores her children and sacrifices her whole life for them, the poor, unlucky wife that married a cruel, indifferent husband but still is faithful to him and her family, the God-fearing religious woman, the defender of morality, the faithful believer in esoteric philosophy that has evolved psychologically and lives a spiritual life, the defender of tradition and moral values, the patriot that adores her country and does not like foreigners, the ambitious and capable politician, the woman that offers to the society, the merciful woman, the able but strict teacher, the modern successful businesswoman, the lawful citizen. Other roles are: the defender of sexual self-control, the opponent of sexual immorality, the one that loves all people but the only thing she gets is bitterness and ingratitude, the wife or mother that worries excessively about her husband and children, the sensitive, complaining, and tearful woman, the cunning fox that nobody can fool, the beautiful femme fatale, the sexually hot woman, etc. Body: look, external appearance: swollen trunk compared to normal or thin hands and feet, swollen face and cheeks, the typical cortisone face and body, staring you directly in the eyes as if wanting to mesmerize you, staring straight at you, with head a little low and eyes turned up to you as if watching over her glasses, her eyes are fixed to you even if her head moves, plethoric kitsch clothing or God-fearing, conservative look. Usual physical predispositions: colitis, retching, distension abdomen, flashes and sweat at menopause, hypertension, obesity, phlebitis. Usual psychological predispositions: family problems with husband and children, depression, anxious, neurosis, jealousy. Relative idiosyncrasies: nausea, platina, syphilinum, nux vomica, anacardium, valerian. B. Lecture 12. The typical representative of syphilitic miasma. Good evening. Today we will analyze the homeopathic idiosyncrasy, lachesis. In our first lecture we have described natrum muriaticum as the typical representative of psoric miasma. During the second lecture we have analyzed medorinum as the typical representative of psychotic miasma. As you might have already guessed, lachesis is the typical syphilitic idiosyncrasy. What is lachesis? It's an idiosyncrasy that corresponds to the homeopathic medicine Lachesis trigonocephalus, which is prepared from the poison of the homonymous snake. Needless to say, that this poison is diluted hundreds of times so as to exclude even the tiniest side effect. In order to analyze lachesis we must first talk about the characteristics of the syphilitic miasma. Even before doing this, we must say a few things about the psoric and psychotic miasmas so as to be able to have in mind the whole picture. What are the characteristics of psoric miasma or yin tendency? It is cold, stability, earthly, weakness, weak and slow function, lack or deficiency, introversion and tendency for more thinking and less action. The psychotic or yang characteristics are the opposite: heat, instability, strength but not stamina, overfunction, excess, hypertrophy, extroversion and tendency for more physical action than thinking. As concerning morality, the psoric person tends to be idealist. He truly and strongly believes in principles, values, and morality and tries to live accordingly. But, be careful, we are not talking about a normal and balanced state. All qualities and characteristics of the miasmas or idiosyncrasies are imbalanced, negative characteristics, that is, symptoms. Let's skip it for the present being, we will talk about it later extensively. On the contrary, the psychotic person tends not to care much about principles and morality, not in the sense that he is immoral or perverted, but in the sense that he cares more about having fun and avoiding any rule that would spoil his enjoyment. He focuses on satisfying his needs and physical urges, so he has an aversion for any self-control. 13. Money, glory, belongings, and domination. The syphilitic or perverted person has, in fact, no principles. He may even declare emphatically that he is a loyal defender of principles and morality. But that's a hypocritical state. In reality, he doesn't care about principles. Or he may even use them as a tool so as to serve his egoistic intentions. He wants money, belongings, glory, and above all, domination. He wants to rule. There is a saying, many have hated money but nobody glory. That is true only for a Cyric person. He wants to have a good fame, he wants to be remembered as a good man, as someone who has offered to the society. It has an egoistic shade, of course, but it's a light one and a Cyric one. He likes to have a good picture of himself, to be loved by other people, by the society or by God. On the contrary, the syphilitic person is thirsty for glory by any means, moral or immoral. Let me remind you of the attitude of the old idealist communists. They used to say, we will fight for our ideals, we will even die for it so as to have a better society for generations to come. You mustn't think that there aren't any selfish motives in such a seemingly idealistic attitude. They were still proud of themselves that they were such heroes and proud to others or to the generations to come. A similar thing was true for the first Christians that became martyrs for their religious beliefs. Nowadays, fanatic Muslims dying for their faith are in the same state of Cyric egoism. But still there is another kind of egoism, the syphilitic one. If I want to be a kamikaze for no purpose, just out of hatred, envy, and tendency for destruction, then this is a syphilitic tendency for glory. I want to be remembered as the smartest, the most mean, the most destructive, the most powerful destroyer of the world. 14. Perversion on the psychic level, destruction on the physical level. As concerned physical level, syphilitic miasma has the tendency for destruction of cells and tissues, deformation of organs and malfunction or even perverted function of the systems and organism. A cancer of the pancreas that spreads rapidly, destroying anatomy and physiology of organs, causing much bleeding, pain, and symptoms, is a syphilitic illness. A skin cancer that develops very slowly due to aging that causes no metastasis and has no symptoms is a Cyric illness. An ovarian tumor that grows rapidly in size without doing much harm to the organ, is slow in giving metastasis and does not cause many symptoms is a psychotic cancer. You see, there are illnesses and symptoms that are Cyric, psychotic or syphilitic. Is that information of any use? Of course. Cyric persons develop Cyric illnesses, psychotic persons develop psychotic illnesses, and syphilitic subjects, syphilitic ones. Thus, from the kind of symptoms and illnesses a patient has now or in the past, we can diagnose his prevailing miasma and his prevailing idiosyncrasies. 15. Uncontrolled, syphilitic loquacity. It is of great use to describe an idiosyncrasy clinically, that is, in the way it appears during the procedure of an appointment with the doctor. The Very first information from a patient is the way he fixes his appointment with his doctor. A Lachesis patient will telephone saying, "Hello doctor, I am Mrs. Brown, I hear that you are a very good doctor, so said Mrs. Gray, she told me that you should take a good care of me and that she will telephone to you about me later. You see, I went to many other doctors, and they have done so harm to me. Now I want to come to you as soon as possible. Do I have to pay too much? How much do you charge? Sorry to ask, but you see I don't get by so well lately due to this economic crisis, but I am a proud person, so I don't want to come for free. Now let me tell you my problem." She is usually so talkative, uncontrolled and intense loquacity. She jumps from one subject to an irrelevant another one. Many times she doesn't even wait for you to answer what she has just asked and goes to another subject. For example, let me give you a dialogue of hers and the doctor. Let me tell you details about my problem. Don't worry, we will talk in details when I examine you. But I must tell you that I have it for so long. Is my case incurable? Mrs. Gray says that you do miracles, but I don't know. I have suffered so much for so long. I am afraid I can't answer to your question unless I see you and have a thorough examination. Does this mean that there is a chance I will be cured? Oh, thank you, doctor, thank you so much. She is such a roaring stream. She usually has an intense psychotic expression, overactive, restless, cannot sit still, cannot stop talking. It is a stream that wants to become a roaring river. She is Adela the Hun. Laughing. 16. A homeopathic doctor shouldn't be an idiosyncratic racist. Please, be careful. We should always try not to confuse the person with the idiosyncrasy that affects him at present. Our inner self consists of our higher intellectual psyche, our conscience, and our individual spirit. Any given idiosyncrasy can only affect part of our external self only. It can affect only partly our lower intellectual psyche, part of our sensual psyche, part of our etheric and physical body. So you see, idiosyncrasy resembles to the clothing we wear and can affect us only partly and mostly externally. Any human creature is born with certain miasmatic and idiosyncratic tendencies. In the course of his life he tends to be influenced by, let's say, 5 to 15 relative idiosyncrasies. I say relative and I mean it. We just can't be today Dr. Jekyll and tomorrow Mr. Hyde. Most of the times, we move along relative idiosyncrasies. However, severe incidents in a person's life may turn him to other directions, but changes are not so great because there is a certain inherited background. When I say inherited, I don't just mean genes and physical level, I also refer to the psychological inheritance of his actions in past lives. I know that I just said something that will raise a lot of questions and opposing opinions, but please just let it there and let's go on. We will talk about it in due time. What I want to stress for the moment is that we, homeopathic doctors, should never be idiosyncratic racists. We should not judge a man from his present idiosyncrasy. We should take it in consideration because all things have a certain meaning, but we should not be prejudiced as concerns our behavior to any given patient or any given person. 17. All idiosyncrasies are bad since they are illusions. We must never say this is a good idiosyncrasy, this is a good man, or that is a bad idiosyncrasy, that is a bad man. We should always bear in mind that any given idiosyncrasy, by nature, is an illusion that causes imbalance and disease. Of course, there are great differences among idiosyncrasies, some cause much imbalance and some less, but there are many other factors that contribute to the final outcome. It is also true that Syphilitic idiosyncrasies tend to affect our psychological evolution more than psychotic ones and even more than Cyric ones. But this is a general statement and only one factor in the game of life. Sometimes, Cyric persons, due to their Cyric influence, tend to become victims of syphilitic persons and hit the bottom as concerns the ladder of psychic and moral evolution. Let me remind you the example of the Cyric lady Natrum Muriaticum in our first lecture. Although she has moral principles and a fine education, due to her Cyric feelings, she becomes in love with a good-for-nothing psychotic junkie who swears that he is so much in love with her and takes advantage of her. Despite her background, she may end at the bottom of the moral ladder. Let me give you another example. There is a Cyric guy who is eager to evolve psychologically and aspires to become a real saint. So he starts living a life full of praying, yoga, reading, etc. But due to his Cyric trustfulness and sincerity, he may become the victim of syphilitic priests and gurus. In the end, he is even lower than before as concerns moral evolution. So you see, what matters is not only from what level you begin, but also what do you do in the course. So, as doctors, we shouldn't be idiosyncratic racists. Never forget that despite we are homeopathic doctors and may have read tons of books about idiosyncrasies, we are also influenced by idiosyncrasies as well. Moreover, it is easy to see a splinter in the eyes of others and very difficult to see the log in our eyes. As Jesus said, "Can I ask something that I didn't understand?" Please, do. Does a certain person change idiosyncrasy during his lifetime? Yes, he does. We are living creatures facing everyday changing conditions. According to the conditions we face, and moreover according to our will, our aims, and our attitude, different idiosyncrasies can affect us at any time. If I turn my boat towards the island of Santorini, it will of course take me to Santorini. If the wind and the waves change my course, then I may find myself to Mykonos Island. 18. Man is endowed with limited freedom of choice. Isn't it true that any one of us is strongly influenced by his basic idiosyncrasy? It is true to say that there are some idiosyncrasies that could be called basic to each one of us, in the sense that are very relative to our present existence. Such a present basic idiosyncrasy does influence us a great deal, but still, there is a considerable amount of freedom of choice. For example, I may have a car of certain specifications. Furthermore, in front of me there is a certain road with certain specifications, but still, I am the driver of this car. I may choose to get off the road and drive to the open fields as if my car was a jeep. It is certain that I will have some consequences according to my decision, but I do have a certain amount of freedom of choice. So, we are indeed endowed by God and nature with a certain degree of freedom of choice, the choice to go upwards towards the Creator or downwards, away from Him, to live according to universal laws or to violate these laws. It's a small degree of choice, but still, it does exist. We are not animals. We are humans. If we were animals consisting only of sensual and lower intellectual psyche, then, by nature, we wouldn't have any freedom of choice. We would be guided completely by our powerful animal instincts. But, we are human and consist also of conscience, psyche, and individual spirit. Thus, our intellectual psyche, being the manager of our existence, can choose to be inspired by our individual spirit and live according to universal laws and the Word of God, or to follow only our egoistic will and the needs and urges of our body. It's a two-edged knife. You can cut bread with it, or you can cut your hand. We do own a limited freedom of choice, if we do wrong actions it gets even more limited. If we do correct, that is, moral actions, then we acquire more freedom of choice. It's like a chess game, the more mistakes you make, the more limited are your options until you have one option to face ROI mat. The more we free ourselves from our idiosyncratic illusions, the more free we are. The more we live with respect to universal laws and the Word of God, the more options we have and the wiser we get. 19. Enlightenment is the overcoming of idiosyncrasies and miasmas. Let me show you how close are philosophical and religious knowledge with the scientific knowledge and experience of a true science like homeopathy. What actually is enlightenment of Christian saints/Buddhist saints/true philosophers? It's but the overcoming of their miasmas and idiosyncrasies. A true saint is freed from the chains of miasmas and idiosyncrasies. He can no longer be influenced by the earthly demons. Hermes the Great said that according to our karma of past lives, at the time of birth, an individual psyche enters a physical body together with those certain demons that habituate at certain planets of our solar system. Our individual psyche is reincarnated at a certain time where the position of the planets at the sky matches those demons that will accompany us through our certain earthly life according to our past karma. That's the real basis of astrology. So you see, our miasmatic and idiosyncratic influences are but the earthly demons that live inside us through our entire earthly life. As Christian religion says, we can reach enlightenment at this present earthly life only through our moral actions and only by the grace of God. Then, true saints are freed from any miasmatic and idiosyncratic influence and thus are freed from any illusion and disease. They enter the world of uniqueness and are freed from the world of dualism/diversity. How many humans can reach such a high level during this earthly lifetime? Only a few ones. It is more than certain that what I have just said seem very metaphysical, extremely peculiar, even nonsense or crazy and schizophrenic. But what is schizophrenia etymologically? It's the splitting of one's mind. We are living a schizophrenic era because we have split in our minds philosophy, religion from science, physical from metaphysical, theory from practice, morality from technology. If we are scientists, we don't accept religion and philosophy. If we are philosophers, we refuse to think in a scientific way. For me, that's schizophrenic. For me, anything that can help us understand reality, be it philosophy, religion, science, or even metaphysics, is a useful tool. We shouldn't be fanatic and narrow-minded. My 25 years of clinical experience in homeopathy and philosophical research lead me to the conclusion that philosophy, religion and science are the two faces of the same coin. Miasmatic and idiosyncratic influences are but our karmic chains, and that is the reason why they are the main cause of disease and sorrow. How can I teach you true homeopathy if I don't relate it to the whole of human knowledge? For me, homeopathy is closely related to life, and life is not only physical symptoms and blood examinations. Life is also psychology, philosophy, religion, universal laws, destiny, nature, and God. Life is related to all these, and if you want to restore life to normal as a true doctor, you have to know life and act according to the laws of life, that is, universal laws. How can you employ homeopathy if you don't realize as a doctor that all the symptoms described in our Materia, Medica and repertories are but miasmatic and idiosyncratic influences, imbalances, and illusions? How can you drive all these away if you don't know what miasmas and idiosyncrasies really are? How can you act if you don't know your limitations as a doctor? How can you deal with a patient if you don't realize that he is an individual psyche having past, present, and future along the ladder of moral evolution? 5.20 Balancing miasmatic and idiosyncratic influences with homeopathic treatment. You mean that whenever we give a homeopathic medicine, we aim to drive away his idiosyncrasy? No. You just can't drive away miasmas and idiosyncrasies by any homeopathic medicine. If we could do that, then we would be God, and homeopathic medicine would be the grace of God. We simply provide etheric energy to the patient, balance the flow of his individual etheric body, and thus lessen miasmatic and idiosyncratic influences. This, in turn, balances his physical body downwards and his intellectual psyche upwards. You must start thinking holistically. You must ask yourself, to what level of the human existence does homeopathic medicine act? A homeopathic drug is not material, not of lower energy like electromagnetism, nor psychic or spiritual, it is etheric. It is an injection of etheric energy that restores the flow of the etheric energy in our physical body. It charges our batteries and mobilizes our physical and psychological defense mechanisms. This enables them to function in a better way so as to overcome passions, illusions, and intellectual confusion. Thus our intellectual psyche is more free to choose again in a more correct way, to function according to universal laws, to go upwards. That's the reason why you give a good-hearted person a homeopathic remedy and he has a tremendous uprising, and in a few months he is better. And off he goes, while another person, an egoistic and malice one, is being treated for months and he has ups and downs all the time. He is gradually better, but he has ups and downs because he insists in living in the same egoistic way. We push him up, and by his actions he falls down again and again. The remedy acts, charges his batteries, but he insists on spoiling all this energy in negative intentions, thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Can you see now the need for philosophy so as to explain things? If we didn't have any free will and we resembled like batteries, then after some homeopathic drugs they would be fully charged. But when it comes to living creatures that have the freedom of spending energy at will, then we have to do with a balance sheet that has incomes and expenses. There are, of course, some syphilitic domineering mothers that after homeopathic treatment, relax and rethink of their wrong attitude towards their children or husband and change behavior and get a lot better. But it is difficult for a syphilitic person to overcome his strong miasmatic and idiosyncratic influences. For a etheric person, such a thing is easier. He is not so egoistic and is more able to do self-criticism and change his behavior. 21. Plethoric, kitsch look. After such a large dosage of philosophy, let's get back to tangible things, so as to balance theory and practice. Let us examine the look of a Lachesis subject. As we have already said, a etheric natrum muriaticum is dressed conservatively. She is neat, clean, and conservative as to her fashion choices. She is never vulgar, extreme, plethoric, or provocative. A psychotic Medorinum is more free and cool as to his clothing. He can be either indifferent or will take much care of his sportive and in fashion clothing so as to be an able womanizer. A syphilitic Platina will be dressed like a queen or like a princess or like a femme fatale, expensive clothing, in fashion, fancy clothing, and sexy clothing. She wants quality and uniqueness. She usually has such a very good and expensive taste. She is chic. On the other hand, syphilitic and psychotic Lachesis is greatly imbalanced. As to her look, she is so plethoric that she ends up to be kitsch. Have you ever seen those elderly women with deep red lips, tons of fancy makeup, provocative see-through blouses, a very low, vulgar neckline, many kitsch heavy golden jewels, snake shoes, leopard blouse, super mini skirts that don't match her short fat legs full of cellulitis, and of course, you say good God. Laughing. She may also adopt a very God-fearing conservative look with long dress. High neckline, conservative hair look, but you may see a huge golden cross hanging out on her chest so as to cry out to all, proudly and hypocritically, I am a defender of the faith of Christ. On the other hand, she may have huge thighs and will wear very small tights with fancy colors or leopard lines or zebra lines. She may have huge breasts, and despite this, she will have a very low, vulgar neckline. She may adopt a look that does not suit her age or her body form. It is an extreme combination of vulgar, plethoric, and kitsch taste. Laughing. Be careful. Please, be careful. I am describing all these without any judgment or negativity towards the person that is influenced by this or that idiosyncrasy. I am not a judge and I am not a preaching priest. I am a doctor, a scientist, and my main care is to have a clear and unprejudiced picture of my patient so as to give him the correct homeopathic medicine. My job ends there. I am but a tool of nature and I have to be a precise, a good tool. What happened before or what will happen after my treatment is not my job. Each individual psyche that comes to me has a cross to carry up to Golgotha Hill. As a doctor, I am but the fellow man whom he looks in the eyes when tired. I respond and help him carry his cross a little further. I am not his Messiah. I am not the rebellion that will drive away the Romans and free him. I have my own cross to carry too, and I can be compassionate for this very reason, but still, each one of us can only carry his own cross. When describing idiosyncrasies and especially syphilitic ones, I may drive things a little to the extremes or make things a little picturesque so as to help you form a picture and grab the essence of it. But you must always remember that there is a whole spectrum that corresponds to every idiosyncrasy. The primal influence, the idiosyncrasy, is the same, but since it affects people with different cultural and moral level, the final outcome consists of a whole spectrum of different shades, even seemingly contrary ones. For example, I have already described the low-class vulgar appearance of Lachesis that seems very different from the high-class, modern successful businesswoman Lachesis and from the conservative God-fearing religious woman Lachesis. They all have the same syphilitic qualities, although the final secondary behavior differs a lot. Let me describe in more detail some of these secondary behaviors. Let's take the case of the appearance of the conservative, God-fearing religious woman. She wears her hair in a conservative bun, buttoned shirt up to the neck, a very long conservative skirt, conservative colors like gray, black, or dark blue, a strict face, no makeup, no fancy jewels, but still this seemingly Syriac look has a syphilitic tint, a large, heavy golden cross that protrudes out of the shirt so as to shout out proudly, I am a defender of Jesus Christ. I am a moral religious woman. I have a strict face, and be careful, I judge anyone who is immoral and non-believer. Laughing. Let's see another secondary behavior of the same idiosyncrasy, the fruitcake, the freak boorish woman who wants to imitate the modern, classy city women. She tends to exaggerate and ends up in kitsch dressing and general look. She will wear fancy extreme clothes, extreme accessories, snake shoes, leopard clothes, golden or silver clothes, lame rhinestones, shiny accessories, etc. We must always seek for the primal tendency, the primal behavior that lies behind all these numerous secondary behaviors. What are the Common elements behind all these seemingly different behaviors? They are exaggeration, kitsch taste, hypocritical conservatism, vulgarity, provocation, domineering tendency, and perversion. Take for example the woman that is proudly showing off that she is a fanatic God-fearing Jehovah's Witness or Mormon or Muslim and is dressed as plain and conservative as possible. Somebody could say, you may have mistaken her, she could just be a cynic, humble person, a true believer that dresses accordingly, that is, plain and humbly. I say to him that she is definitely syphilitic because she exaggerates in trying to be very plain and very humble. She is provocatively humble just like a Pharisee. Whether I am provocatively conservative or provocatively vulgar, the common thing is provocation and exaggeration and of course, the syphilitic intention. 22. Cortisone face, swollen face and trunk, thin extremities. Lachesis body type is very much like the cortisone face caused by long use of high dosages of cortisone, that is, swollen face and trunk while extremities are thin. In our first lecture we have talked about natrum muriaticum's body type, which takes the form of a pear. Medorinum has a quite yang body type, that is, strong, large and wide bones and developed muscular system. That doesn't mean that all idiosyncrasies do possess a certain characteristic body type. Moreover, not all persons influenced by a certain idiosyncrasy have the characteristic body type of this idiosyncrasy. We should bear in mind that in order to have the body of a person shaped according to his idiosyncrasy, he must be influenced strongly by this idiosyncrasy for years. So don't expect, whenever a person is influenced temporarily by a certain idiosyncrasy, to develop its characteristic body type. It's a matter of procedure. A certain idiosyncrasy changes our etheric body to a certain pattern. This pattern in turn affects the function of our physical body and gradually after many years it also shapes our body accordingly. 23. Lachesis characteristic gaze. It may seem strange for most of you, but lachesis develops often a certain characteristic gaze. It looks as if she is wearing glasses and lowers the head so as to look over her glasses. Her gaze at you is fixed. You are the target and she does not stop looking straight in your eyes, as if looking like a snake straight to her victim. She may turn her head sideways but she keeps her eyes fixed on you. This is in accordance with her psyche. Don't forget that eyes are the mirror of soul/psyche. If you are suspicious and your aim is to dominate, then you are alert all the time. You are a cunning fox or a snake hunting for victims, staying alert so as to face any hostile attack. You never turn your eyes and attention away from your target. You observe and note down any little motion of your opponent. You keep asking yourself, what's the matter with this guy? Who is he, really? What are his intentions? Am I in danger? How can I manipulate him? Can you see now how our physical body expresses the content of our psyche? Other idiosyncrasies also have a characteristic gaze. For instance, we could talk about the vanity glance of Platina. She is so vain, so royalty, so sure of herself. She has that air of royalty. It's as if she is looking you from high above, and for seconds she does a favor to you to bother look at you. You see, she can be very snob at times. Enough with the psychological characteristics. Let's say some important physical characteristics. She is usually hot, quite hot, but not so much as sulfur unless apart from lachesis there is a strong sulfur influence in the background, ready to pop up. She may not be hot or may even be a little cold, but even then, she cannot bear a hot room, a room not ventilated with fresh, cool air. She will open the windows During climax and even years after menopause she is usually suffering from hot flashes and sweat. It's the main idiosyncrasy responsible for menopause problems. That doesn't mean, of course, that whenever you find this symptom you should prescribe Lachesis. It's so wrong to be based only on one symptom or to a few ones, even if they are key notes, that is, very characteristic. The whole is always more important than parts, and that's a universal and homeopathic law not to be forgotten or violated. Now, let me remind you of a picture already described, of those elderly ladies with the extreme makeup, the kitsch clothing, who are loquacious, hypocritical, syphilitic, and domineering. Add the hot flashes and see them fanning themselves and you can only think of Lachesis to prescribe. See how miasmatic idiosyncratic diagnosis works. It is a matter of familiarizing yourself with the correct pictures and acting according to homeopathic laws. On the other hand, she may have huge thighs and will wear very small tights with fancy colors or leopard lines or zebra lines. She may have huge breasts and despite this, she will have a very low, vulgar neckline. She may adopt a look that does not suit her age or her body form. It is an extreme combination of vulgar, plethoric, and kitsch taste. Laughing. Be careful. Please, be careful. I am describing all these without any judgment or negativity towards the person that is influenced by this or that idiosyncrasy. I am not a judge and I am not a preaching priest. I am a doctor, a scientist, and my main care is to have a clear and unprejudiced picture of my patient so as to give him the correct homeopathic medicine. My job ends there. I am but a tool of nature and I have to be a precise, a good tool. What happened before or what will happen after my treatment is not my job. Each individual psyche that comes to me has a cross to carry up to Golgotha Hill. As a doctor, I am but the fellow man whom he looks in the eyes when tired. I respond and help him carry his cross a little further. I am not his Messiah. I am not the rebellion that will drive away the Romans and free him. I have my own cross to carry too, and I can be compassionate for this very reason, but still, each one of us can only carry his own cross. When describing idiosyncrasies and especially syphilitic ones, I may drive things a little to the extremes or make things a little picturesque so as to help you form a picture and grab the essence of it. But you must always remember that there is a whole spectrum that corresponds to every idiosyncrasy. The primal influence, the idiosyncrasy, is the same, but since it affects people with different cultural and moral level, the final outcome consists of a whole spectrum of different shades, even seemingly contrary ones. For example, I have already described the low-class vulgar appearance of Lachesis that seems very different from the high-class, modern successful businesswoman Lachesis and from the conservative God-fearing religious woman Lachesis. They all have the same syphilitic qualities, although the final secondary behavior differs a lot. Let me describe in more detail some of these secondary behaviors. Let's take the case of the appearance of the conservative, God-fearing religious woman. She wears her hair in a conservative bun, buttoned shirt up to the neck, a very long conservative skirt, conservative colors like gray, black, or dark blue, a strict face, no makeup, no fancy jewels, but still this seemingly Syriac look has a syphilitic tint, a large, heavy golden cross that protrudes out of the shirt so as to shout out proudly, "I am a defender of Jesus Christ, I am a moral religious woman, I have a strict face, and be careful, I judge anyone who is immoral and non-believer." Laughing. Let's see another secondary behavior of the same idiosyncrasy, the fruitcake, the freak boorish woman who wants to imitate the modern Classy city women. She tends to exaggerate and ends up in kitsch dressing. And general look, she will wear fancy extreme clothes, extreme accessories, snake shoes, leopard clothes, golden or silver clothes, lame, rhinestones, shiny accessories, etc. We must always seek for the primal tendency, the primal behavior that lies behind all these numerous secondary behaviors. What are the common elements behind all these seemingly different behaviors? They are exaggeration, kitsch taste, hypocritical conservatism, vulgarity, provocation, domineering tendency, and perversion. Take for example the woman that is proudly showing off that she is a fanatic God-fearing Jehovah's Witness or Mormon or Muslim and is dressed as plain and conservative as possible. Somebody could say, you may have mistaken her, she could just be a cynic, humble person, a true believer that dresses accordingly, that is, plain and humbly. I say to him that she is definitely syphilitic because she exaggerates in trying to be very plain and very humble. She is provocatively humble just like a Pharisee. Whether I am provocatively conservative or provocatively vulgar, the common thing is provocation and exaggeration and of course, the syphilitic intention. 22. Cortisone face, swollen face and trunk, thin extremities. Lachesis body type is very much like the cortisone face caused by long use of high dosages of cortisone, that is, swollen face and trunk while extremities are thin. In our first lecture we have talked about natrum muriaticum's body type, which takes the form of a pear. Medorinum has a quite yang body type, that is, strong, large and wide bones and developed muscular system. That doesn't mean that all idiosyncrasies do possess a certain characteristic body type. Moreover, not all persons influenced by a certain idiosyncrasy have the characteristic body type of this idiosyncrasy. We should bear in mind that in order to have the body of a person shaped according to his idiosyncrasy, he must be influenced strongly by this idiosyncrasy for years. So don't expect, whenever a person is influenced temporarily by a certain idiosyncrasy, to develop its characteristic body type. It's a matter of procedure. A certain idiosyncrasy changes our etheric body to a certain pattern. This pattern in turn affects the function of our physical body and gradually after many years it also shapes our body accordingly. 23. Lachesis characteristic gaze. It may seem strange for most of you, but lachesis develops often a certain characteristic gaze. It looks as if she is wearing glasses and lowers the head so as to look over her glasses. Her gaze at you is fixed. You are the target and she does not stop looking straight in your eyes, as if looking like a snake straight to her victim. She may turn her head sideways but she keeps her eyes fixed on you. This is in accordance with her psyche. Don't forget that eyes are the mirror of soul/psyche. If you are suspicious and your aim is to dominate, then you are alert all the time. You are a cunning fox or a snake hunting for victims, staying alert so as to face any hostile attack. You never turn your eyes and attention away from your target. You observe and note down any little motion of your opponent. You keep asking yourself, what's the matter with this guy? Who is he, really? What are his intentions? Am I in danger? How can I manipulate him? Can you see now how our physical body expresses the content of our psyche? Other idiosyncrasies also have a characteristic gaze. For instance, we could talk about the vanity glance of Platina. She is so vain, so royalty, so sure of herself. She has that air of royalty. It's as if she is looking you from high above, and for seconds she does a favor to you to bother look at you. You see, she can be very snob at times. Enough with the psychological characteristics, let's say some important physical characteristics. She is usually hot, quite hot, but not so much as sulfur unless apart from Lachesis there is a strong sulfur influence in the background, ready to pop up. She may not be hot or may even be a little cold, but even then, she cannot bear a hot room, a room not ventilated with fresh, cool air. She will open the windows. During climax and even years after menopause she is usually suffering from hot flashes and sweat. It's the main idiosyncrasy responsible for menopause problems. That doesn't mean, of course, that whenever you find this symptom you should prescribe Lachesis. It's so wrong to be based only on one symptom or to a few ones, even if they are key notes, that is, very characteristic. The whole is always more important than parts, and that's a universal and homeopathic law not to be forgotten or violated. Now, let me remind you of a picture already described, of those elderly ladies with the extreme makeup, the kitsch clothing, who are loquacious, hypocritical, syphilitic, and domineering. Add the hot flashes and see them fanning themselves and you can only think of Lachesis to prescribe. See how miasmatic idiosyncratic diagnosis works. It is a matter of familiarizing yourself with the correct pictures and acting according to homeopathic laws. 24. She just can't bear anything tight. Another, very important and easy to trace, characteristic is that she just can't bear anything tight, anything that tightens her body and especially her neck, chest, breasts, and belly. There are of course, other idiosyncrasies that have this characteristic, but for Lachesis it's a capital one. If combined with a syphilitic temperament it guides you strongly towards Lachesis. She can't wear a polo neck sweater, it's not a matter of heat, she can't bear it even in a cold winter, it's a matter of tightening. She may even dislike having a necklace for the same reason. Heavy clothing or heavy blankets may also produce a tightening and make her feel bad. So, you see, she wears low neck dresses or blouses not only to provoke attention but also because she can't stand tightening in the area of the neck and chest. If anything obstructs her breathing she is so distressed, that's why she will not cover her head or nose even with light sheets. She feels suffocated. The minute she enters her house, she throws away any bra, even if it is a loose one. In fact, she often purchases a bigger size of bra, so as to feel it loose. For the same reason, as soon as she enters her house, she changes into loose outfit or she may walk about with her underwear. She may not wear bra at all, unless she has enormous breast. She may also wear bra only when going out to church or to the doctor, that is, at places where she must appear to be decent. She does it for social reasons. Did you say aesthetic reasons? No, I said social reasons. Aesthetics and good taste is definitely not her field. Laughing, she is so kitsch, most of the times, and not only as concerns her clothing but even as concerns furniture, house decoration, etc. She also avoids body stockings, tights, corsets, and anything tight. But you may even find a Lachesis that wears tight clothing. It's usually the case of a young lady that wants to show off her beautiful body, and in the fight of beauty versus comfort, beauty wins. Don't confuse aversion tight clothes with aversion woolen clothes. Some idiosyncrasies and especially sulfur can't stand woolen for two reasons: heat and itching. Lachesis may have an aversion for heat but usually has no itching. Oh God! I had such a case in my dental clinic. She sat on the dental chair and told me, "Doctor, can I remove my bra? For God's sake." Why, I told her full of surprise. And she told me, I am suffocating, I don't feel comfortable. And she removed it at once. You see how true is what I've been telling you, that true homeopathy is born out of life? It is born out of clinical and everyday observation. So, you see, when a patient comes to the homeopathic doctor, he even looks at her bra, laughing. Don't take it wrong. I was just joking. I don't want to see my name in the headlines of the newspapers tomorrow. More laughing. So, to conclude, nothing is accidental. Nor our look, nor our expression, nor our speech, nothing at all. But we must never be absolute, prejudiced, and rigid and say, she doesn't like tight clothing, give her lachesis. That's so wrong and has driven to failure many homeopathic doctors and, of course, to disappointment many homeopathic patients. Laughing. 25. Aggravation from sleep. She is aggravated from sleep. She may wake up not long after sleep or during the first hours after sleep from choking feeling in throat. She wants to rise up and even open the window for fresh air. She is so active and full of energy that she usually wakes up early in the morning. She just 188 can't stay in bed. If she is a housewife, she will immediately start taking care of the house. Old Lachesis housewives could wake up at 6 p.m. and start preparing food for noon, then clean the house, etc. If she happens to sleep 1 or 2 hours more than usual, either in the morning or in noon, she will wake up worse than before sleep. She will feel so heavy, even tired, and often with headache or a heavy head. She will say to herself, "What's the matter with me? Others are so much better after sleep, and the more they sleep the better they are." 26. A homeopathic doctor should never prescribe according to the patient's phenotype. As concerns irritability, we will usually find Lachesis having two kinds of behavior. The one corresponds to her genotype or primal behavior, and the other to her phenotype or secondary behavior. You must always discriminate between primal and secondary behavior. Genotype or primal behavior is the most important of all. Phenotype is useful only to guide us to the genotype, and it may even be seemingly opposite to it. This is in accordance to the universal law of uniqueness and diversity. There is one genotype or primal behavior, but from it can origin many phenotypes or secondary behaviors. Her genotype or primal behavior is that she is easily angry, easily irritable, and usually expresses her anger no matter what, but then you may often find her adopting a phenotype or secondary behavior that is quite the opposite. She is Ms. Calm. How on earth can you not be confused? A very useful criteria is her syphilitic exaggeration and of course her syphilitic intentions. There comes to an inexperienced homeopathic doctor a seemingly God-fearing old lady who seems very calm. "Hello doctor, how are you? How's your wife and children?" "Good. I do hope so. May God bless you." Then the doctor proceeds to the homeopathic history and asks her, "Are you easily angry?" "For God's sake, doctor, no. Not at all. Why should I? I believe so much in God and I have worked so much with myself. I always forgive people, even when I should be angry I say my prayers and forgive others. That's how we should all be, peaceful and forgiving and full of love for all people." Next thing, the inexperienced homeopathic doctor notes down on his paper or computer, "Very calm, introvert and with high moral principles. A Cyric person." I say, shame on you doctor. You are awarded the Medal of the Open Palm. Laughing. It's a great rule in true homeopathy. Never judge by appearances. Never judge by behavior. You must always unmask your patient. You must always seek for his genotype, for his primal behavior, for his intentions. At times, a patient of mine may say to me, "Oh doctor, I must have misled you last time you saw me, because I answered totally wrongly to your questions about my personality and you may have given me the wrong medicine although I am feeling better." And I say to him, "Who told you that I note down whatever you tell me, just as you have said it?" Laughing. If I believe anything they say to me, then we are both lost, patient and doctor. They will lose the chance to get well and I will lose most of my patients, and especially the syphilitic ones who are indeed, nowadays, the majority of patients. Never take for granted what a patient says to you. Never, ever. The more he exaggerates, the more you must doubt. The more he seems to know himself and the more he is proud about this, the more you should doubt. So, when a Lachesis says that she is extremely calm and that she loves all people, the more you should doubt about it. My granny, God rest her soul, was a very loquacious and syphilitic person, a typical Lachesis. No matter what she was talking about, after 2 or 3 sentences she used to say like a cassette player, "God bless my children and grandchildren and all people." Then she used to gossip all people in the neighborhood. And even her children and grandchildren, she used to put words in others' mouth and had them quarrel among them. She couldn't leave anyone at rest. Exaggeration, hypocrisy, and syphilitic intentions, these are 3 very important criteria that help you discriminate secondary behavior from primal. 1. Phenotype from genotype. 27. Mean and domineering or hypocritically good and sensitive. So you must realize that Lachesis can be found in 2 versions, as mean, domineering and irritable, which is the primal behavior version, and as hypocritically good and sensitive, which is the secondary behavior version. The first version is not so frequently found nowadays because any person having such a behavior encounters so much social reaction that he will have to change expression. So, it is expected that many syphilitic persons tend not to show their primal behavior and intentions, and tend to adopt several socially accepted secondary behaviors. In conclusion, Lachesis is primarily an irritable person. What irritates her? Anything that is contrary to her domineering attachment. If her husband does anything not her way, she gets angry. If her children do anything not her way, she gets angry. Attachment leads to anger. Anger is a lower intellectual emotion that originates from attachment. The more the attachment, the more the anger. So, why does Lachesis get angry? What are the usual causes of her irritability? She gets angry whenever things are not done her way. Whenever she is not the dominant person in a love affair, in family, in work, in society, anywhere. She gets even angrier when anyone under her dominance tries to free himself and dispute her authority. Of course, if you ask her about her irritability, she may mask things. Usually she won't say "my kid/husband makes me angry." Instead, she will often say, "My kid/husband distresses me/hurt me/saddens me/makes me suffer." 28. Cutting comments, mordancy. Usually she expresses her anger, either by shouting if she is a low-class woman, or if she is a modern woman, she will do biting comments, mordant remarks. Moreover, she will blow hot and cold. She will stub you first and then will nurse the wound with cotton and iodine and then stub you again. She may say, "Is this treatment going to last long? You don't expect me to come here every month and pay you all the time, not that you didn't help me a lot, but you see I live on a salary." She blows first cold and then hot and then may change subject without waiting so as that you don't have the chance to answer. She is such a cunning fox when it comes to domineer her, when it comes to do things her way. When I was a trainee at my trainer's office, I happened to be present to the following biting remark from a Lachesis patient. She said to him, "What's the matter with you, doctor? I come here for some years now and I always find you wearing the same shoes. You are rich, you have so many patients, why don't you buy yourself new shoes?" Laughing, and then immediately she started saying how much good he has done to her, and what a good doctor he is. This biting comment was not accidentally done. The doctor had recently raised his fee, she learned about it, and tried to prevent him from raising the fee for her also, since she has been coming for years and since she has recommended to him hundreds of other patients. Do you remember what we have said about intentional actions? Anything she does has a goal, an egoistic, syphilitic goal. Whenever you see a patient coming for the first time and immediately starting to accuse other doctors and saying that she has heard so many good things about you, then start thinking of Lachesis or other syphilitic idiosyncrasies. Whenever she says to you, "These medicines you gave me have caused many side effects to me," of course, I don't mean that you did it on purpose, but they weren't so good as the ones you gave me before, then again think of Lachesis blowing hot and cold to you. Whenever a patient praises you excessively, especially in front of others, think of Lachesis. Don't let yourself be carried away by such tricks and syphilitic baits. Be relaxed, patient and objective fisherman of people. Try to reach an objective diagnosis of their idiosyncrasies, that is the only way that you can help them. Don't let yourself be flattered, don't let you yield in public relation games. If you are trapped in such games, you will not be able to free them from their own jail of illusion because you will be hallucinating too. 29. Intentional and purposeful praise. Lachesis patients that were cured by the homeopathic doctor are often those that will recommend him many other patients. Wherever she will go, at the church, at the bus, in companies, she will say to others, "I have a very good doctor, he has cured me, he saved me, you must go there and he will certainly cure you too. Don't forget to tell him that you are recommended by me, Ms. Brown, so as to take a good care of you." Don't, even for a minute, think that the motives for this praise are unintentional. You have to do with a syphilitic person, most of the times her motives are selfish. Sometimes this is done so as to ask you to charge her less since she has recommended you so many patients. Other times she wants you to feel in debt to her, and anytime she needs you to take a very good care of her. Some other times, she uses your success and good name so as to praise herself for choosing such a good doctor. She says to others, "I know this doctor so many years, we are very close, I have sent him hundreds of patients, if you go tell him that I have sent you to him, and he will take very good care of you." On the contrary, a Cyric phosphor will recommend his doctor to others only out of gratitude for the man that freed him from his fears and nervous complaints. A low-class Lachesis may even expose herself, revealing her intentions straight away, "Give me drugs for a longer period, because I have some money problems. I have recommended so many people to you. Did Miss Young came to you recently? Did she tell you that I was the one who recommended her to you? You have done such a good to me. I worship you. I will place your icon next to that of Mother Mary." Laughing. If you hear this last phrase, just think of Lachesis seriously. More laughing, and if she says that in front of other people, then it is more than certain that she is a Lachesis subject, indeed. Another popular phrase of Lachesis for your praise is God first and then doctors. Of course, if you don't manage to help her and if on top, she is dissatisfied from your behavior, then woe betides you, or may God help you. She is not capable only of great praise, but she is more capable in defaming you, exposing you to others and ridiculing you. 30. The hypocritical image of the good and sensitive mother/housewife. Lachesis is usually very tidy, but not so tidy as Nux vomica, who is fastidious, that is, tidy to the third degree. Lachesis is tidy and neat as old housewives were proud to be. Nowadays, many modern women feel embarrassed or even ashamed or sometimes bored to be housewives. They are proud to declare that they employ a foreign maid to take care of the house and the children. That's not a male subjective comment. Men also, nowadays, have also changed to the worse. Whenever we function and think as homeopathic doctors, we should try to forget our sex and be objective scientists so as to reach to a correct diagnosis of the patient's idiosyncrasy. Lachesis women, especially in old times, adopt the hypocritical image of the good and sensitive mother/housewife. It is, of course, a secondary behavior, a phenotype. She is neat, tidy, and clean. She is proud to declare herself a capable housewife that manages to take care of the house, the children and the whole family. Her work is so important. She raises the children to become decent, good Christians useful to the society, and with moral principles. She is an excellent cook. Her roast beef is the first. Laughing, she is honest and faithful, good, sensitive, moral, and above all, a wonderful wife and mother. That is the hypocritical secondary behavior. In a few words, don't confuse her tidiness with the fastidiousness of Nux vomica. Nux vomica is so fastidious, it is something that comes naturally out of her. It's the way she functions. She doesn't do it so as to be proud about it to others. She just can't function otherwise. It's a neurosis. It's almost an obsessive behavior. She is the anal type of Freud. Lachesis, on the other hand, is tidy because she is so energetic, and since she stays at home, she has to do something to waste her energy. She will keep mopping the floor every day until the marbles need replacement. Laughing, she also does this for another reason, so as to show off to others and make her family feel in department to her so as to domain. 31. Introversion due to fear of gossiping, intentional extroversion. As concerns introversion/extroversion, you can find two phenotypes. Usually she is introvert for fear of others gossiping her. You see, she judges from herself. She is such a gossiper that she always thinks that others do the same thing as she does, so she keeps her personal to herself, or to very close ones, especially within the family. She may not confide even to her close ones because she wants to maintain a certain good image so as to manipulate her own people and others. On the other hand, she may adopt a different phenotype. She may appear to be extremely extrovert. She may even say that her husband is not good at sex and doesn't satisfy her even when first meeting you. Or she may burst to tears the very first moment she meets you and confide to you that her son uses drugs and that she is so suffering. If you are not acquainted with syphilitic secondary behaviors, you may say to yourself, "Oh my God, what a sensitive, extrovert woman. She is so suffering that she has lost any measure of extrovert behavior and confides to anyone seeking for consolation. She definitely needs pulsatilla." Well, you are so wrong. You have just eaten her bait like a freshman. It's a secondary behavior that has all characteristics of lachesis: intentional, syphilitic, hypocritical, and exaggerated. She fakes a good and sensitive pulsatilla so as to get all the sympathy and good name in order to hide her real nature and use this image so as to manipulate her close ones and even use you in order to do that. The absurd thing is that most of the times, she is the one that has caused all these misfortunes for which she blames her husband or society. 32. Domineering parents drive their children to homosexuality or insanity. What do I mean by this declaration? Let me tell you what I mean. Whenever you find a psychotic or homosexual child, as a rule you will trace a Lachesis mother in the family, or at least another domineering idiosyncrasy. I am fully aware that I may say things that drive you crazy or surprise you, but that's the way things are in reality. And reality is our field of action, especially in true homeopathy. Nowadays, it is a rare thing to trace a domineering father responsible for his child's insanity or homosexuality. When I say a domineering father, I don't mean a Medorinem father. Medorinem is not usually a domineering father, at least nowadays. More often he can be an indifferent father. He may, of course, be very irritable and bursting, but he will not be systematically oppressive as a Nux Vomica or as an Arsenicum father. Nux Vomica is oppressive due to his obsession with tidiness, schedule, and good manners. Arsenicum is oppressive for two things: he thinks he knows everything and that all must obey him, and he is very fastidious in the sense that all things should be done scholastically and according to his way. The usual case is a domineering Lachesis mother with a father that is primarily indifferent or secondarily indifferent because he has been neutralized by his wife. Then the boy of this family is in great trouble. Not only he is oppressed and castrated, that is, emasculated by his mother, but he hasn't got any normal masculine model to refer to, so it is so easy to turn to homosexual behavior or to become effeminate. If he is a yielding and introvert boy, then he may end up to insanity. In both cases, and especially in insanity, the mother has achieved full control, complete dominance, because she now has a crippled child fully depending on her. He will stay a dependent child forever, a puppet in her hands forever. But any coin has two sides in this world of dualism. It is a two-edged knife situation. On the one hand she has full control, but on the other hand she is fully occupied and enslaved. She is at the same time perpetrator and victim, hunter and prey. It's the same thing that happens to a shepherd. He is being served by the weak-willed sheep, but he is also obliged to serve the weak-willed and dependent from him sheep. She is so hypocritical that although she has intentionally caused such a weak-willed and dependent child, she goes around, or even to the doctor, saying to all, "What can I do? He is so useless that I have to do everything for him. I am the one who suffers more taking care of him. Oh God, I don't deserve this." 33. The overprotective Greek mother. As concerns fears, Lachesis in reality has no fears. She is a very strong and confident person. Don't be confused by what she calls fears. Her so-called fears and worries are usually very good excuses to manipulate others, and especially her children. Most of the times she says she is so afraid and worried about her husband's health condition, but in reality she uses these fears so as to control his going out with his friends or mistresses. If he is seriously ill, or if the doctor says that he should take a considerable care of his way of life, then she takes the role of the strict nurse to control him and neutralize him. She finally found a very good way of neutralizing her rebellion husband. She starts treating him as if he were a small child. She also uses her fears and worries so as to control her children, especially if they are not yielding. Be careful. You will get ill. Drink your orang, eat and your milk. Wear a jacket. Don't drive a motorcycle. You will have an accident. Don't hang out with bad companies. Stay safe. At home. Be careful of broads. The only thing they have in mind is to hook you and marry you. Isn't that the typical picture of the overprotective Greek mother? It is. Not a coincidence that many women when becoming mothers change idiosyncrasy and usually become lachesis subjects. I say women. Because lachesis is predominantly a female idiosyncrasy, it matches female characteristics. Rarely will you see a male lachesis. On the other hand, it is more usual to find a Medorrhinum man than a Medorrhinum woman. It is an expected thing. Sexes differ, their nature is different. I don't mean that the one is better than the other. I am a doctor, a scientist, I am not a politician. My care is not to convince anyone or to have more fans and votes. Nature of man is simply different from the nature of woman. This is a normal, natural, and undeniable fact. Now, since man and woman differ in state of health and balance, it is an expected thing to differ also in a state of imbalance. When a woman is perverted or simply imbalanced, she tends to become hysteric, jealous, loquacious, gossiping, grumbling, and mean. When a man is perverted or imbalanced, he tends to become indifferent or violent or cruel. It is not a coincidence that when it comes to cursing we say for a woman, she is such a bitch, while for a man we usually say he is such a jerk. An imbalanced man tends to develop different idiosyncrasies than an imbalanced woman, simply because they are different. Lachesis is a very frequent idiosyncrasy in Greece. Just watch any Greek series in TV and you will be astonished how many mothers, women and grandmothers perform lachesis roles. We are full of lachesis. Laughing. Do you mean that lachesis is a Greek idiosyncrasy? Not only Greek. It is an international one. More laughing, but you can more frequently find such secondary behaviors of lachesis. Overprotective mothers in underdeveloped culturally countries like Greece or South Italy, for example. The secondary behavior of the modern successful businesswomen lachesis can be more frequently found in advanced civilizations and in large cities. But always bear in mind that the genotype is the same while phenotypes seem to differ. 34. A flexible, cunning fox. She has such a great idea about herself. But she is not so vain like Platina. Platina thinks that she is the queen, the indisputable top in beauty, culture, charm, and brain. Hyoscyamus may have the insane idea, when psychotic, that he is Napoleon or Einstein. Lycopodium thinks that he is such a cultured and refined person, with so many great ideas in his mind. Sulfur likes reading about mysteries and strange things and believes he is a great philosopher. He thinks that he has captured the meaning of life. On the other hand, Lachesis believes that she is such a cunning fox. She does not only believe it, she knows it, she is sure about it, because for many years she manages to manipulate others around her. She does things her way, and most of the times others don't even realize it. She is so flexible and, as we have said, so capable of adopting secondary behaviors. She isn't rigid like Platina, who says straight to you, I am the first one. And whoever does not see this, he is stupid. No. That's not Lachesis. She can be so flexible, she can pretend to be anything that serves her interests. You may see her 1 minute praising others and the next minute cursing them. She will go to the politician that she praises to others and say to him, you did not find a job for my son, although I have convinced so many people to vote for you. You'll see. You'll hear from me. I am going to make a ridicule of you. I am going to support your opponent, and you will find yourself out of the game. She will have no moral restraints, not even social ones. She will go to the ones she has convinced to vote for the present politician and will manage to manipulate them to vote for his opponent. 200. Some years ago, I used to buy vegetables from a Lachesis grocery man that was next to my house. Whenever I went there, he started saying the same things, doing public relation towards me. Good morning, my good doctor. How are you? How is your lovely wife and beautiful children? What a nice family you have. What would you like, doctor? Tomatoes? No. 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 Don't take these. They are not so good. I have saved the good ones for you in the fridge. Exclusively for you. Let me give you the best. Not that he was fond of me or my family. Not at all. For him I was the rich doctor from whom he would steal without any hesitation, since I was also stealing from poor people. Not to say how much he was gossiping about me and my family. A Lachesis man is even worse than a Lachesis woman. He is one of a kind that's not accidental. If a man is perverted and develops a female idiosyncrasy, then he is even worse than a woman, because such a role is not a usual thing for his nature. A gossiping, loquacious or hysteric man is 10 times worse than a woman. He is unbearable. A cruel and violent woman is 10 times worse than a cruel and violent man. 35. A whole spectrum of secondary Lachesis behaviors. Let me give you some examples of the great many secondary behaviors that a Lachesis can easily adopt. The strict abbess that has full strict control of all nuns. She judges all around her and preaches about love and morality, while at the same time may be immoral or even mean. The theologian or literature teacher who is the headmaster of the school and is being hypocritical, overactive, ambitious, and preaches all the time about morality and obedience. The ungifted female poet who thinks that she is a great poet and does not miss any chance to read her works in public. More roles. The overprotective mother, as described before. The domineering grandmother who says hypocritically, a grandmother loves her grandchildren twice as much as a mother her children. She always says to her daughter, "You don't know how to raise a child. I know better." The social worker who pretends to be very sensitive, compassionate and unintentional, and at the same time her only intention is to dominate to those around her. It is not accidental that Lachesis tends to select professions or activities that give her the chance to manipulate others and dominate over them. More Lachesis phenotypes. The vulgar horn or pimp that is proud for her sex techniques and her ability to seduce men and manipulate them. The gossiper of the neighborhood who is so capable of putting words into others' mouths so as to have them quarrel while she is nearby laughing at them. If they discover her intrigue, she has the guts to answer back. Who? Me? I swear to my children's soul that I never did such a thing. I swear to Almighty God I am a victim of conspiracy. Someone is lying deliberately to spoil our good relation. Don't believe their lies. If you try to unmask a Lachesis as to her syphilitic intentions, she will be raging. She's going to eat you alive. She's going to say you are crazy, a liar, an insane guy, a lunatic or a conspirator. There is no way she's going to admit her true intentions. More phenotypes. The mother who steps on her husband's love for drinking and calls him an alcoholic good-for-nothing father and accuses him to their children so as to neutralize him and take control over the family. The mother that goes from one TV production to another, saying my beloved child has got into drugs/religious groups/gangs. I try to save him. Be careful about your own child. Help me against our Fight against drug dealers / gurus / outlaws. She is so good in accusing others, in ridiculing others, or in playing the role of the good and sensitive mother / wife that is suffering from her heartless children / husband. All these roles and many other that may seemingly be contrary to each other are indeed secondary behaviors of the same idiosyncrasy. She may also be the modern woman who is ashamed to be called a housewife. She is proud to show off as femme fatale, or as successful businesswoman, or famous actress, or famous artist, etc. Can she be a great scientist? Of course, she can. Why not be a great scientist? She is smart, ambitious, and energetic. She can be anything she wants. It depends on what targets she sets for herself. But she can also be the vulgar merchant of the flea market who teases men saying shocking sexual jokes. I rest my case, for now. Life is so diverse, so never-ending. True. Homeopathy can be so difficult and at the same time so fascinating, both science and art, art and science, science and philosophy, philosophy and science. That's what true homeopathy is for me. Thank you and have a great day. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel.